So the difference between knowing that God is all there is and not knowing that, in my opinion, and I've got the mic so I get to have one, is believing that you are worthy of being in that presence. What if it was that simple? All you have to do is recognize that you deserve to be in the presence of love. How often have you counted yourself out for that and said, no, it's okay? Sometimes I think about our typical relationship with the divine, my relationship with the divine when I was still part of mainstream religions. And it's kind of like being the child of an addict or somebody who is not fully functioning. I spent a lot of time trying to make sure my parents were okay. Does anyone relate to that? To make sure that mom never got too upset because then bad things happened. To make sure that dad had a reason to come home. Because, in my mind, it was just us. I had no understanding of the military says you go. And there's no conversation, and the 3-year-old in your life cannot pout hard enough or get that lip out far enough to make your CO shut up. The truth is that the only problem that any human will ever experience is a belief in separation from the divine. And the healing salve is always going to be a recognition of oneness. The thing that gets between us and that recognition is thinking that we're not qualified to be part of God. To deserve, according to dictionary.com, is to merit, be qualified for, or have a claim to as a reward, assistance, or punishment because of actions, qualities, or situation. If your essential quality, if your all the way down in the bedrock of your soul quality is oneness with God, then you deserve all of the benefits and responsibilities that come with that. Many people forget that there's a responsibility involved in being one with the ultimate creator. And that responsibility is the responsibility to create our own lives. Now, remember, I'm saying responsibility, not blame for whatever you're judging in your life. Okay? Can we just take the word blame out and remember that this is all about the ability to respond in a way that works. We all have the ability to respond in some sideways ways. That is why Ben & Jerry's is doing so well. And, self-help groups and gyms and all of that kind of stuff. So what I want to remind you is that worthiness, okay, so the diction, since I looked it up, I'll share it with you. Having adequate or great merit, character, or value, as in a worthy successor. Of commendable excellence or merit, deserving, as in a body worthy, a book worthy of praise, a person worthy to lead. In each case, these things are inherent. You might have to work for the skills, but you're born into the worthiness. If you look in the, past the first 4 chapters of the textbook where we all play. Oh, come on, has anyone read past that? Okay, the practitioners are like, yeah. Has anyone read past that for a reason other than it was your homework? Okay, good. If you look toward the back of the book, there's a section on the teachings of Jesus, who Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of our philosophy and the writer of that textbook, who he called the master teacher. I'm going to remind you, those of you who have an iffy relationship with Jesus. He's like that awkward ex that your mom still likes. I'm seeing way too many people like, oh God, yes, I know exactly what that is. We do not deny the divinity of Jesus. We also do not deny our own divinity. As awesome as Jesus is believed to have been, we acknowledge that everybody else has that in them too. And one of Ernest Holmes' more favorite parables about that from the teaching of Jesus is the story of the prodigal son. Does anyone not know that story? Okay, so there's a few hands up. The version I'm telling you is not the one in the Bible. Just fair warning. There were these two brothers being raised by their father. They were trust fund babies and they knew it. Their father was a gajillionaire and owned a lot of land and owned a lot of stuff and had a lot of people working for him. They were pretty much being raised by the help, although they knew their father loved them. Every time he came home, he made them the primary focus of his attention. Now, the older one was kind of the responsible good kid, and the younger one was the typical youngest kid in the family. Can you tell I'm not that kid? I'm the middle kid. I'm the best of both worlds. So the youngest kid was a little wild. And the older brother came into his inheritance. His trust fund matured, and he was living that way. Younger brother got jealous. And so he said, you know what? Just give me the money now. I won't ever bother you with this stuff again. He's a little wild. So he takes off for LA. He's living the high life. He's doing lunch with those people who have people who have people. And then 2008 hits, it's all gone. There's this massive crash. And suddenly his trust fund, which he had been spending like air from his lungs, not even water, air, it's all gone. And our boy has no skills other than spending money, which now does not exist, and doing lunch. You can't really put that on a resume, can you? Eventually, he finds himself more or less homeless, washing dishes in one of the worst dives, and in order to eat, he's grabbing the food off the plates of the customers, trying to get to it before the rats. And one day he just kind of wakes up and says, what am I doing? I could just call Dad and see if I can come home. See if it's all right for me to come. I'll take whatever entry-level position he has. His entry-level people are doing better than me. Not even out of high school yet. They had internships. I'm working this one. So he goes back and he texts Dad because you don't have to walk down the road anymore because 21st century. He hits send and immediately, like the guy had been standing there looking, watching for this text for years. His dad texts back, come on back, we'll have a party, I have a job for you, it's all good. So he comes back, and there's a party. And he gets to get cleaned up, and he gets to sleep under a roof, and he gets to have food that no one else has chewed on yet. I know, ew, right? I'm making sure I have your attention. Older brother gets annoyed because he has been working the 40 and 60 and 90-hour weeks at his father's corporation. He's been learning the business. He's been doing it right. He invested his trust fund. Yes, I know, 2008 happened. Not everybody lost all their money. Some people made more. So when little brother comes home, he's like, Dad, what the heck? You're going to reinstate him with a new trust fund. You're throwing him a party for having been, I don't even know what. And I've been here all along. What's up with that? Anyone have that annoying younger sibling who gets away with everything? Ever really needed to be that younger sibling who was going to get away with something? We have a 10-year rule in my family. After 10 years, you can tell your parents and they can't get mad. You know those stories that you haven't told your parents yet? 10 years, statute of limitations. I'm not even kidding. Parents, if your kids moved out 10 years ago, pour yourself a drink of something calming. You know I meant chamomile tea, right? In this world, we have the haves and the have-nots. And there's lots of stuff going on in this world where the haves and the have-nots are getting further and further apart. Yes? Where those of us left in the middle class are wondering why it's all echoey in here now. We have a belief system that says you must earn somehow your good. We have a God that we've been working with for hundreds of years that we're still trying to placate because every so often he gets all smitey. Smitey is the adjective meaning he will smite someone. He gets a little cray-cray, and not in the good way. He gets nasty. And so we are like kids in that dysfunctional family still trying to placate the mean God. What if I told you that at some point some poor person made up the mean God because they were scared? And made up all of these rules that say these people are deserving, these people are not, and this is the difference. And if you don't do this, you're going to hell. I imagine the real God up there going, hell, what's that? Wait a minute. I never bought that property. I created that property. And all of us, being the good religious folks that we are not only going to hell, but we've bought condos so we can get there early, like vacation rentals. We practice for the afterlife in hell that we made up because we don't recognize that we already have this palatial, wonderful place, or this cozy little place, if that's what we prefer, that exists in heaven, right here, right now. And so what we've done is create a world that reflects our beliefs. We all know that the world reflects our personal beliefs, right? And here's where it's important to understand. If we believe ourselves to be unworthy, we're going to project it onto other people. Our laws will tell people that they are not worthy. Our religions, our families, we will find ways of taking this belief system and letting it seep into every aspect of our lives. It will show up everywhere. It'll be in the comic books. It'll be what we add to our cereals. Oh, dear God, have you ever tried to read one of those ingredient lists out loud? Those aren't words. Those are just blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to eat blah, blah, blah. Well, I do some days, and I do, but that's just Lucky Charms. I'm Irish, I can eat that. I actually do some serious work sometimes, guys. I was listening to a podcast called On Second Thought. Has anyone heard of that? It's Trevor Noah and his friend David Kibuka, who misbehave badly and are really, really funny. There's one in which he or they talk to a community activist named Nithya Raman. Yeah, I got that right. The reason I put our prodigal son in LA is because that's where they were talking about. LA is the home of the rich and famous. It's the home of the stars. It's where dreams come true, yes? It is also, yeah, okay, a lot of people are like, oh, hell no. You people do not belong on a stage, probably. You don't like it up here. I don't understand that, but to each their own. I'll forgive ya. Like anyone asked me. In LA, they have a massive homelessness problem right now. The people who are in that socioeconomic rung are dying at a higher rate than the people who are at about their level in New York City. In New York, they have blizzards. People can freeze to death. That's not happening in LA. The difference is that in New York City, they have enough beds, they have a way to home any person experiencing homelessness. They make sure there's enough space for them to get in out of the cold. In LA, it is illegal to sleep in public. You will get a ticket. It's Penal Code 647F, and it's a misdemeanor. Yeah, it's the one thing I remember from my years on the public defender. They have also made it illegal in LA to sleep in your car. This is the long-term result in our belief in unworthiness. Do you see where it all stacks up? And so, in spite of the fact that it's actually less expensive for a city to simply put them under a roof, you know it's cheaper to home these people than it is to allow homelessness in your town? It will cost you less money to be virtuous. Best savings plan ever. Be nice. Who'da thunk it? So, what if we decided to do our work at both the physical level and the consciousness level? Now, you can go to Papa Google and find out what you can do about homelessness, what you can do about the hungry, what you can do about people who are experiencing all sorts of problems. There's things you can do at the level of effect. I will tell you that here in Prescott, there's a group of people who represent the different community action committees and people of faith and all sorts of stuff that get together once a month and talk about what they're doing to make sure that they're supporting each other and they're not duplicating effort. That is huge. If you've worked anywhere in the nonprofit community, you know that we have people competing with their different programs. You know what? Let somebody else do it. Do something that needs to be done and isn't getting gotten to. Yeah. Yeah, that was grammatically correct. I had a Sister Ursula moment. So, we have that. I would be willing to bet, knowing my people as I do, that many of you are volunteering time, energy, and money to help solve these issues in our community. The things that we do at the level of effect can be powerful, but they will not work permanently until and unless we do the work in consciousness and in spirit. Until and unless you are willing to accept as much good as you can stand, more than you think you deserve, like uncomfortable levels of good, uncomfortable levels of love. Can I get a guinea pig? Not like a real, okay, stand up please. What's your first name? Caitlin. I want everybody to just look at Caitlin and love her. You know, you truly are beautiful. I love that color on you. And I'm so glad you're here today. I think you're going to make a huge difference in this community. Just by, even if you never come back, although I hope you do, you being here makes a difference. How comfortable are you right now? Really? Wonderful. Okay, everyone, you can go ahead and sit down. Thank you for playing. Everybody be like her. This is the sister you want to be like. Why can't you be more like her? Is not where we're going with this. I did notice that there was that smile that came up when you first stood up. In many people, that's a sign of discomfort. It's that nervous smile or nervous laugh. I'm really glad that you were comfortable with that. For those of you who didn't dare raise your hand because you knew I was going to make you do something in public and be seen, that exercise was actually for you. I would love you to do your prayer work to such a level that you could stand up just like her. You'd be the first one standing up and going, "That's right, love me." Eugene Holden, who is a frequent speaker here, well, as frequently as I can get him out of the frozen north, probably be easier in the next couple months, won't it? He has asked us to do an experiment with when somebody gives you a compliment, your response is, "Yes, that's true. You're beautiful, you're powerful. Yes, that's true. You do great things for this community and have for many, many years." I'm not hearing any "yes, that's true." Honey child, we look good. That's right. That's the best cosmetic any one of us could ever get, is spirit shining through our faces. That sense of love, that sense of energy that it's safe to be with me. I am safe to come out to. I am safe to tell your worst secret to. I can almost promise you I won't even be impressed. I've probably heard about it at the public defender's office or done it myself in college. How I'm not in prison is I'm on mic. Never mind. Ignore that. Ernest Holmes wrote, "When we know our oneness with God and the law, what a great burden is removed." What a great burden is removed. You can stop trying to please an unpleasable parent God. Any sense of opposition is removed from the consciousness which perceives unity. That which we call our subjective mind is but a point in universal mind, where our personality maintains its individualized expression of spirit. You are just one single point within a vast mind that knows itself to be perfect, whole, and complete, that knows itself to be loved, that knows itself to be perfectly at peace with all that it is. There is nowhere else for you to go and nothing else that you can possibly be but that universal mind. You have decorated this particular point in space and time in your own way. You've hung some pictures. You've given it a body, and here you are. Some of us like to redecorate every so often. It's okay, because there is nothing else to do or be but God. It is the belief in God, this infinite being, and something that has gotten us in trouble, that has created homelessness in our world, that has created consciousness within each of us that at some level stops saying, "I'm worthy of this much, I'm worthy of this much, uh-oh, I better retract." We've been told too many times, don't get a big head. For the love of all that is holy, and I mean that in every possible way, for the love of all that is holy, get a big head. Huge. I want to see like Jack in the Box dude in here every Sunday. We need extra seats just for our big old heads and hearts. If you will learn to love yourself, capital S and little s, unconditionally, I am willing to bet that that is how we create the world that works for everyone. I actually have bet on that. I bet my entire career on it. We are here to create a world in which no one is seen as the undeserving or prodigal son. You know, prodigal just means, like, likes to party. Prodigal means likes to spend money and have a good time. I grew up thinking it meant sinful and bad. Can you see where it might be a problem to equate those two things? If you're having fun, you must be bad. Yes, I'm from New England. home of the Calvinists and the Puritans. I'm here to tell you, we can heal this planet. We can heal all the climate change damage that's going on right now in Japan, which is flooded. We can make an end to these worsening fire seasons, and LA will stop burning down every flippin' year. We can clean our air and our food if we will clean our minds. Some of you know I've been working on that, trying to do the 21 days in a complaint-free world. This is day 5. Now, in part, that's because I have the sense to take many days in silence. And in part, it's because when you start focusing on, I am not going to lie to myself anymore. I am no longer going to claim to be weak or sick or poor. That's in one of the meditations in the back of the book. I will no longer lie to myself about being outside or unworthy of God. I will no longer tell the horrible, egregious lie that anyone does not deserve the love of God and the power of peace and the power of creativity. I will no longer tell the lie that someone who happens to not have cash right now somehow does not deserve food, water, and a roof. I will no longer tell the lie that I am separate from my brothers and sisters in the Christ consciousness. The great mystics over time have related to the people who seem to be the have-nots. Jesus hung out with prostitutes and tax collectors. Buddha, when he left his very private compound and saw people who were sick or aging or poor, had such compassion for them, he had to go be with them and find a fix for them. Now, he found it in the middle way, in his own consciousness. The whole story, or the most famous part of the Mahabharata, which is the Bhagavad Gita, is the story of Arjuna talking to God in disguise about, I'm supposed to walk onto this battlefield, but I have beloved people on both sides. How am I going to do this? And he is told by Krishna, this is how this works. This is how we all get to be who we are. We all have our own yoga or way of being in the world. The great mystics have always said, you're already one with God. There is nothing you can do about it. Get over it. Okay, they don't say it that way. But they have all struggled to express to us the great love that the divine is, that we are part of. That you couldn't earn if you have to. Thank God we don't have to. It is that love I would be so excited to see people walking out of these doors and bringing out into the world. I've said for many years that our best advertising is you guys being happy in public. And so in order that we may each have that experience this week, I don't want to wait any longer than a week to see each and every one of you understand how beloved you are. So we're going to go to prayer. And I pray from down here because I am of you guys. I am one with you guys. I'm the same as you guys. I use concealer both physically and emotionally, the same as you guys. And so if you're comfortable closing your eyes, do that with me now. Otherwise, I suggest just a soft gaze on something that is neutral. And come with me now into our home so that we can experience not feeling homeless. We come into this home in which God dwells. It lives within us. It is the kingdom of heaven we were promised that lives within us. Come in and look in the mirror that shows you as you truly are and see God itself. See the divine being, the infinite love, the intelligence of life itself within you, because that's where it is. God is not questioning itself. God knows who it is. God is not unaccepting of love. God is love. Just as the Father and the prodigal son is a representation of God, there is no end to the good it wants to share. It wants to experience as each and every one of us. This is the divine being, the true divine being. The beloved of the beloved is us. And so in this moment, on behalf of all of us, I accept that truth and stand in it. I stand in the truth of our divine perfection. And I know that things like feeling broken, feeling unworthy, feeling less than, all of that must fall away. It ceases to be supported by the structures of our society because we've all woken up and come to ourselves. And in this light of truth, I celebrate the glory that is God within each and every one of us. I celebrate the good of our own souls. And within this truth, there is nothing to say, just God to be experienced and revealed. So with a graceful and grateful heart, grace-filled, I just let God do what it does and be what it is. And I step out of the way and let it be. And so it is.